And I don't know where that live link is. I don't know where it goes.
It says we're now streaming live on YouTube.
Exactly, but I don't know where that. Oh, I can send you that link. It's here. I got it.
Oh, that's all right. Just send it to me later.
Cool. Nah. Oh, I don't know how to send it actually.
Well, I'll find it on your channel later, right?
Oh God. Oh God. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
That's awesome. So I'm going to get back this window. I think now it should be good. It should be live on the YouTube. You're there. I'm here. It's Sunday morning for you. It's Sunday evening for me. And it's 11 p.m. in Beijing.
Yeah, hopefully some people in China are watching.
Yeah, probably. And I am Xiaolei, and you are Xiaolei. How was it for you when you heard of me the first time? For me, it was super weird.
It was so annoying because so I just like started a channel not thinking too much about it and used the name Xiaolei, which is my Chinese nickname. And then everyone was commenting, is this the sister of Lao Lei or something like that? And then I found out like, oh, this is a person who's well established, and I totally just infringed on him. But you know,
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all, not at all. But for me, it was like, Xiaolei, your girlfriend is streaming. Go and find your girlfriend. It's Xiaolei. Oh, look, it's so funny. And yeah, I'm not very in the whole sphere. Like I just started getting connected to Lele and to Badiu Cao. But it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know many people in this thing. And it's a very, for me, it feels like it's a very muddled water. Like it's very, very scary. You might run into Falun Gong people or into Gu Gui people or into secret Wu Mao or into some Trump pawns or whatever. And then it kind of feels like I'm fine just having my phone, talking into the phone, uploading the shit. And then it's just weird when everyone's like, that person is somehow connected to you.
Yeah, and it's like you kind of forget that there are thousands of people watching you, and amongst those thousands of people, someone is going to try to like set you up or, you know, like make a connection, and you're like, I'm just here making videos.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. But it feels as though to many people, this YouTube thing can never be simple. It can never be, it's just you with your camera or your phone. It has to be like there's some 团队 behind you, some team, there's some plan, you're connected to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know why did you start getting a channel actually? Were you gonna make the big bucks? Get rich?
I never thought so. I had left China for a year at that point, and I felt disconnected. I was forgetting how to speak Chinese. And then I ran into Inti online. I messaged him and I was like, hey man, I love your channel. And he's like, oh, you speak Chinese? Why don't you come on to my live stream? And by the way, if you're coming on a live stream, a lot of people are going to see you. Why don't you just start a channel? I was like, well, yeah, I could practice Chinese that way, like kind of reconnect with China. And it was just that, like it was just for personal reconnection to China sort of thing. But as you found out for yourself, probably like a lot of people like to see foreigners speaking Chinese. So a lot of people started following, and one thing led to another.
And how was that? Was that stressful? Did you feel like you're obliged to make more content or clickbait or I don't know, satisfy them?
Yeah, it was exploratory at first because I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't, but at first I was thinking like, all right, let's try this topic, let's try this angle, let's try black and white, you know, like even literally how it looks. And I tried a bunch of different stuff and it was fun for a while. And then once I finally found out what worked for me with the least amount of effort, I stuck with that for a while.
And what was that?
The least amount of effort was replying to an email. So taking out someone's question that they had asked me, replying to it in like 5 to 15 minutes, and just doing it with my phone like you do, just at home, with a light, like nothing fancy, no editing. If I could avoid editing, that was the best.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know how people do it. I hate editing. Like I really do.
At first, I would spend up to 8 hours, like when I just started, getting a video online because I was like, it needs to look good and like it can't be kind of scrubby because this is representing me. But after a while, I was like, no one cares. Like they care what you look like and like what you say.
Well, and to me, it seems as though it's different kinds of viewers. There's the viewer that wants to be entertained and it should look proper.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult to satisfy them because if you don't have a team, it's just very difficult to put in all this effort. And then there's the viewer that wants authenticity. And then for them, it's kind of nice that it's shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I don't like, I'm not an entertainer, you know, like I'm not funny. Like I'm funny with my friends, but I don't go online to make jokes. Like I wouldn't try to compete with that, but I can be authentic. So that's kind of where I squared out.
Yeah, that's nice. But you stopped recently.
Yeah.
People have been saying like, Xiaolei is back, Xiaolei is back. Like you must have vanished. It made them unhappy. You pulled a Nathan Rich on them.
Oh, didn't he get sick or something?
Well, that's the word on the street. He left, he came back. He's been back today.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll go back today.
With a very good video about how Taiwan is not a country.
Man, that guy sucks.
Oh yeah.
To state the obvious. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll be back making videos again, but one, I'm just like busy. Like it's really simple. Like I just got busy with work, but also we're in quarantine, which means a lot of my time is spent on the computer. And I'm like, I want to have a real life. And I started gardening. Like I'm trying to spend more time outdoors, and I don't want to be online, like interacting with just like the world. You know what I mean? Like I don't really get that much meaning out of it. Though I do kind of enjoy it now and then. So I don't know when I'm sorry guys. I don't know when I'm gonna make videos again. I just need a break.
Did you get a lot of hateful comments or anything?
I have, but most people are nice to me. Like
really?
I mean, I don't know if it's a female thing or if they just don't take me seriously, but
that would be no, if it was a female thing, that would be so awesome and so fair. Like because I think from what I hear from female social media users, it seems as though you get harassed much more than I do because I have a penis. And so
I can't compare. I don't know.
Okay.
I do get a lot. I mean, harassment is a sliding scale, and I certainly got a lot of 嫁给我吧, like a lot of emails being like, marry me, which is that harassment? I mean, kind of, but like I just delete them. And I did get some, like similar to you, I'm sure you get like weird messages, like conspiracy theories. And I got one that was like, Xiaolei, you know, you're pretty, but like you really should stay out of politics and current events. Like you shouldn't comment on stuff you don't know about. And then it went off into some conspiracy theory, and I was like, I think I actually replied and said, fuck you to them. Like, I think it was a bad day, but usually I don't reply.
I've had some bad days, some really bad days. I pull out all my, 我去年买了个表, you know?
What? No, what?
I don't know if it's still a thing on the Chinese internet, but when I was on Weibo 5 years ago, if you want to be really mean, but you don't want to use mean words, you say, I watched last year, 我去年买了个表, which has the same starting letters as 我去年买了个笔.
Got it.
Yeah, and then you just tell people about your watch, and they're like, what watch are you even talking about? And you're like, huh.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I bought a lot of watches in my day because I don't know, it bothers me so much sometimes. Sometimes I'm good, but sometimes they make me so angry. I don't know if it's the German in me, but I have a hard time kind of pushing it away from me.
Well, what's the most irritating stuff that frequently gets to you?
Lately it's been the Trumpists.
Yeah, me too.
I am prepared for the Xiaofenhong and for the Wu Mao and for all of that. I'm prepared for people throwing Nathan Rich videos at me. and I think that's fine. But then when they pretend to be on my side, and they're like, yeah, democracy, rule of law, freedom, and then they go like Trump, then I'm like, where do I stand now?
Yeah.
You know, like the space that I can stand on is this small,
Yeah.
and around it is just a pool of shit.
Yeah. I feel that
And
way.
then,
And
yeah,
honestly, Xiaolei, that's one of the reasons why I've just kind of disappeared lately, because when I go on Twitter, it's disgusting. It's like a toilet. And I just don't feel inspired to be a part of it.
but you know what? I don't know if that's something for you, but I've lately started doing random Zooms.
Yeah.
Like I do it like this. I just go on Zoom by myself in Chinese, and
Yeah.
I put it on this YouTube live, and then I put the YouTube live link into the chat or whatever, and then random people will come into my Zoom, and all of them are awesome.
Yeah.
So far, no exception. There's these thoughtful people that basically none of them are in China, because I think it's a little bit, people don't want to expose themselves. They usually don't show their face anyway.
Yeah.
But people tell me about what it's like for them to be Chinese in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Or one guy was in Georgia, and he described himself as he's right wing, but he can't really deal with the Trumpism that well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to all kinds of rallies, like the BLM rallies and the Trumpist rallies, and it was just really interesting to hear from this guy. And it felt like maybe some of these people, if you encountered them on a text-based social media, it would end really quickly, because I hate Trump, and maybe that person doesn't hate Trump, and then it's kind of like, I can't deal with you, you can't deal with me. But when you talk like this, it seems much more human, and for me it's been super inspiring, actually. Like there's a lot of thoughtful people. It basically feels like living a Peter Hessler article, where you're like, ooh, Chinese people are so educated and awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been really good. After
I commend you for doing that.
I was saying, like, I was actually like recommending it as something that feels for me cleansing. Like I don't get assaulted, I don't assault anybody. We have nice conversations for like 10 minutes or something, and it's less of this like me, Xiaolei, talking into the camera and like getting this point across. It's more like this conversation that kind of goes this way or that way. Sometimes they're shitty because I'm shitty and I want to talk about porn, but that has actually happened. I felt terrible, but
Terrible.
well, because I didn't prepare the guy.
Yeah.
Like he just logged on and I was like, "You're in Japan? Porn." And he's like, oh, "Okay." that was just me. But it feels very civilized, and it feels like there is a lot of nuance that just gets kind of lost in the comment section of YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or anywhere. And that has been really nice, because sometimes it can feel hopeless to just see all this anger and all this confusion. Like, yeah, today I made a video about China joined this Asian, what is it called, RECP or something?
Yeah, RCEP, I think.
RCEP. And I was talking about how Obama tried to set up this TPP.
Right.
Trump went out of it because he doesn't like Obama.
Right.
And now China has their own version of a bigger TPP, basically. Yeah, but people are really, really unhappy. How dare I?
You see the same thing happening with America pulling out of like all sorts of things. I get it, because a lot of these organizations are corrupt, but that is leaving a space for China to just come in.
Yeah. But by the way, how has it been these few days? We talked during the election. I guess the elections are still not over, but what is it like outside when you go outside?
It's pretty pleasant, honestly. Like the day that Biden was announced as winner, there were fireworks around here and like celebrations. And then a week later, which is like this weekend, there were, Trump fans who had a little parade being like, we hate democracy, we hate the election. So for the most part, though, it's pretty nice. At least where I live, it's very positive, and there's a sense of sanity and relief that's been missing for the past 4 years.
And those Trump fans, they're not violent. Like, did you see them actually?
Yeah, I saw some this morning. Well, Well, it's a little early in the morning, so no one's violent. People usually don't get violent till later in the day. Studies have shown,
Yeah.
especially when it's hotter.
Hmm.
But no, I didn't. No, I didn't see violence. I saw people walking around waving Blue Lives Matter flags and getting ready for the day.
It's super interesting to me. I don't get this whole flag cult. Like, I mean, I spent a year in Kansas, in Wichita, Kansas. I don't know if you've been, but it's pretty traditional Midwest. And that was in 1999. And I was very confused about the whole flag issue because in Germany, we don't celebrate our flag. It's kind of there. But nobody would be like, oh God, there's a flag. Or like, you see these viral videos of people picking up flags from the ground. And I'm like, dude, it was on the ground. You got nothing else to do than pick up flags? So that's
Yeah, so
me.
there's two things I want to say about that.
Yeah.
First of all, it wasn't a thing until I think the 1980s. There's
Ah,
something culturally that happened in the US where it was a right versus left culture war sort of thing. And someone in an art museum, I think in Chicago, someone on the left, of course, because artists tend to be on the left, they had an exhibit that was supposed to be like about what does it mean to be American. And they put an American flag on the ground. So in order to enter the art exhibit, you had to walk on the flag. Okay, so then a right-leaning journalist saw this. He wrote up this piece that was lambasting this artist, being like, this is anti-American. And it started this thing that was like, you can't let the flag touch the ground. And if you stand on it, it's like the worst thing you could do. And all of a sudden, these new culture norms came out to like express what Americanism meant to an American. And the second thing is, in Germany, isn't there like some kind of, wasn't it a post-World War II reaction that you kind of
yeah.
put flags?
Yeah. Yeah. Like we feel expressing patriotism is a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Like, I think Germans generally, we tend to kind of feel comfortable with the EU because then we're like in a club of friends that have not committed a Holocaust.
Yeah.
And we can be like, we're with them now. But if we were just waving our own flag, it would be weird. So me going to the States in 1999, I see this flag waving stuff and I'm like, aha, so this is like the outside world. We are weird, the Germans, for not celebrating the flag. But what I see now is Trumpists actually changing the flag. Like, what the hell is a blue flag?
It's Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah, and like how do you celebrate your flag and then wave another flag, like a Confederate flag, Blue Lives Matter flag? It feels like if the flag that you like is the American flag, just wave that flag.
You
No?
would think so, but there are different interpretations of how to be an American in America. And so people need kind of that extra symbology to express what exactly American means.
Odd. And do the people on the, let's say, Biden side, do they wave a lot of flags?
No, and actually last week I was out and about kind of watching like literally people dancing on cars. Like I was out and about watching everyone celebrating and I was like, there are American flags here, but definitely not as many as you would see at like a rightist celebration. And I think that is just the nature of the left. Like I think the nature of the left is that we are, I say we because like I'm on the left, frankly, but I think that we are more kind of reflective about the bad things that we've done in history. And so we think like, you know, maybe we shouldn't wave our flag and say America's great, but we should celebrate when we do have some sort of progress.
But this, I think this kind of, let me put it this way. It would kind of be nice to let's say, reconquer the flag from the right, no?
Well,
Because it feels like,
sorry, I was thinking it would be great that we can reconquer the Constitution because in the past, the Tea Party and the right have been, you know, we're the party of the Constitution. The Democrats, they're the party of interpreting and changing the Constitution. Well, what has this past week told us but that you can't trust the right now when it comes to the Constitution? They're ignoring the election and trying to change the rules. And it's like, all right, guys, like Democrats, if you want to make a play, take back the Constitution right now. The flag.
It's been fascinating to watch, like from a German perspective, really. But what I was thinking before we were talking, I was cleaning up the cat toilets and it had nothing to do with what I was thinking, or maybe it did. But I was thinking like, I'm talking to a person now, I'm about to talk to a person, and I'm wondering if you think that Donald Trump is more stupid or Xi Jinping is more stupid? And then I thought that's kind of a silly question. It's kind of just I'm being passive aggressive and shitty about everything. So I don't want to ask that question. And then I thought the beautiful thing is you are actually getting rid of that stupid guy.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, but they can't. Like in China, if they think Xi Jinping is awesome, fine. But if they don't, still, he's still going to be there.
It shouldn't be about the person. Like, it's about the system. And okay, so presidents, I actually don't think we've had many stupid presidents. Even George W. Bush, he graduated from Yale with like a 3.6 GPA. Like, okay, I didn't have that. You know, I can't call him stupid. But
Okay.
In Trump, I don't think Trump is stupid. I think he's manipulative. I think he knows fully what he's doing. I think he has little emotional self-control, but I don't think that he's dumb. So like, and I don't think Xi Jinping is dumb either. Like, I don't think you get to be president or dictator by being dumb. You get to do it by being manipulative and power grabbing. And
Okay.
and I think at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter about who it is. It should matter about who respects the system. Like, system is number one. Constitution is number one. China, you know, don't care about their constitution. So it doesn't matter who's in power. If he's in power for life, that's all bad. You know, just like you just said.
Were you aware of these things before you went to China?
Not really, no.
What was that like? Like,
Well,
why even China?
It's a tough question. I started studying Chinese because I thought I was good at languages when I was 18. I wasn't. I just thought I was. And then I started doing it. I hated it because, I mean, the teachers made me feel bad about myself. You know, they weren't warm and fuzzy American teachers. They were like hard Chinese teachers who shamed me. And I just felt ashamed the whole time. And eventually, though, I went to China and I hated that too for the first few weeks.
Same here.
You know what? This is really exciting. It's engaging. Life is supposed to be hard. That's part of the adventure. And something just clicked. And I was like, I'm in this now. And then I stayed there for 8 years.
8 is a long time. When did you go?
I first went in 2008. And then I came back in 2010 and stayed till 2018.
So basically 2008 was the golden period in my memory. Like, I think the early 80s or something must have been really good too.
Yeah.
You know, when people could actually go into Zhongnanhai.
Yeah.
Like, it was open and you can go in and there's like, okay, you can't really listen to Deng Lijun or something because that's subversive, but there is like this hope of change still that kind of vanished later. But 2007, 8, it was awesome. I gotta say, like, I don't know how was it for you? For me personally, I was a bit defensive about China. I would be like, why are these foreign media always talking shit about them? They're trying. It's not easy. They're poor. They're trying to go somewhere, you know, have a middle class. Change is gonna come. Why are you always being so like picky on them? It felt like in the Olympics, I remember there was this article that said like, oh, finally, the next Olympics are going to be in London. These are going to be more humane Olympics because there's going to be room for errors. And like, you know, it's going to be more human because the Chinese, they put up these perfect games and that sucked. And I was like, oh, okay, so now we're being angry because their games were too perfect. That's really just mean at this point.
Yeah, that is mean.
How was it for you?
It was, I think I tended to be on the fan gong side of the spectrum pretty much the whole, like, I've never not been fan gong. And that was not compromised by people in the US hating on China, because I was like, well, they have their point of view and it might not be educated, but I still have my point of view and what they think doesn't affect me. So like, if people, for instance, family were like, oh, isn't China bad? I'd be like, yeah, but not for the reasons that you think. Like, it's because of this complex political situation, and it's not because of like some other reason you might have read about in a headline.
Okay.
And I want to say though, this was really hard. It was really hard to be that person, especially when I was studying abroad, because it is not cool to be the one person in your US study abroad program who is like anti-CCP, because everyone else is like, well, you can't judge a foreign culture. Like I can't tell you how many people have, white people, American people, Westerners have been like, how dare you criticize another country? I'm like, you have a point. I should be careful criticizing and thoughtful criticizing, but I also see that they have been organ harvesting from minorities, and I see like that there is child trafficking. Like, come on, guys, like we're not above this.
Can I say something about this?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a friend from Turkey a while ago, while I was in Turkey. He is a intellectual. He loves Immanuel Kant, and he hates his government, like with a passion.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm talking to this guy, and I'm talking about this thing where lots of Germans, we feel like we shouldn't go around preaching. Like I do it all the time, but it's not really mainstream in Germany. You don't go and be like, change your government, it's shit. You're like, no, that's your government. That's fine for you, because I'm so respectful. And I told him this, and he was like, actually, he feels like that's patronizing.
I think so too.
Yeah, he said like there should be one measuring stick for everybody. And he feels terribly disrespected if foreigners, especially Westerners from rich countries or like, let's say, democratic countries come to him and then they're like, well, a dictatorship is fine for you because you're a Turk.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck? I read more Kant than you.
Yeah.
It's not fine. Yeah. And I want to have the same level of measurement as a human, as a citizen. And so, critique all you want. If you're going to critique something at home, then you're also going to critique it here.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me, really. His anger at this. He was like, that is Orientalism. That is saying, well, Asians, they're not fit for democracy. It's in their genes or 5,000-year history or whatever. Well, you're just being so patronizing and condescending to them, and you're like, I am one of the good ones. I respect your dictatorship. It's pretty much shit, I think.
I feel the same way. And I used to ask that of other Americans in China. I was like, so do you think Chinese don't deserve democracy? Like, what's the problem here? And people refused to get into it. They would just stop at, we shouldn't criticize others. It's condescending to criticize others. I'm like, it's condescending to assume that they can't succeed in democracy.
It's very odd that this seems to be like a pretty mainstream way of thinking. Like you're visiting a tribe of cannibals, and you're like, well, cannibalism is fine for them. Yeah. It's fine. I'm not going to say anything about it. But like, if anybody were to eat a human at my place, I would be super angry.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, this goes without saying, but there is the caveat of like, well, we can't be fundamentalist about this. We can't judge people like, I don't know, Muslims for wearing hijabs or something. So where do you draw the line? And all I can say is there's a lot of nuance.
Difficult, yeah. About the hijab thing, I keep bringing up these conversations that I have on the way, but an Iranian female friend, she told me she was very angry with a Swedish delegation of politicians who were all female who went to Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. And in Saudi, opposite to Iran, in Iran, everybody has to wear the hijab. It doesn't matter who you are, foreigner or local. But in Saudi, only the locals have to, and the foreigners, they can choose not to wear the hijab. So then these 5 Swedish female politicians, they went to Saudi, and they thought like, let's put on the hijab and show them that we respect the culture. And then Iranian women were looking at them and be like, sister, dude, you're undermining the cause. We're trying to get rid of this thing, and you just gave them this ammunition to say, look, even Western women are wearing the hijab. Yeah, and I understand these Swedish politicians. I understand, like, you want to be respectful and blah, but at the same time, it's very difficult.
Things are complex.
Yeah, but what I think is, in the end, I think it's respectful to voice an opinion, like if you have one. If you don't have one, there's so many things that I don't have an opinion on, and I think it's very difficult in these days to admit that you don't have an opinion. But like shit, I don't know what's happening in Chile right now. So if you were to ask me, I'd be like, well, no opinion, because I really don't know. Right. I don't know who's right in Armenia or Azerbaijan right now. They're fighting just 200 kilometers from here, and I'm like, I don't know the details. But if I do think I know, or like I have an opinion, then I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
But that seems to be for some people like too much. Like you're, I don't know, just being like a modern day imperialist kind of.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I think I've heard people say that if you're a foreigner going to China, you shouldn't state an opinion for the first 6 months. And I can get on board with that. First 6 months, just observe. I can understand that. I think after a few years, though, like you should be able to have those kind of conversations.
I would even say from the first day, you could basically say traffic is shit.
Yeah.
It's like you don't need to be a genius to understand that Chinese traffic is just a mess and it's very violent.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I actually did a video on which country is more dangerous, the U.S. or China, because you know the state line in China is U.S. is dangerous, and when you take into account traffic deaths and not to mention deaths in prison, it's like China's like way your likelihood of dying in China is way higher.
interesting. So you actually do research and stuff.
For fun, yeah. I mean, I got a master's in China, and I'm kind of introverted actually, so I prefer to do research over making videos. And like if blogging were still popular, I'd rather have a blog than make videos. But yeah, I like research. I don't know. Do you? What do you do?
I basically don't get into specific numbers in my videos. Like I just kind of go like, okay, this is kind of what it is, and here's my opinion about it, which might not always be totally factually like to the point, to the detail. But it's kind of like I try to make videos where it feels like you're just talking to a dude over dinner.
Yeah, people
Yeah,
like
I'm not gonna be super prepared.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I should change that. Maybe I should become more like Fang Zhouzi or something and like really like hammer down some details, but it's not me.
You're good how you are, and most people prefer the dinner, the talk over dinner style, and most of mine are that way because I get tired of researching.
Mm. We were when you were saying like about like let's say how dangerous life is in China. What was China like as a woman for you, as a Western woman?
Um, I think as a woman in particular, the hardest thing was being able to communicate in a way that people would think I was competent and take me seriously in my second language. So like in English, I can be very articulate because it's my native language.
I noticed.
And yeah, thank you. And in Chinese, I'm just never going to be as articulate. You know, it's my second language. And so when people in China met me, especially when I was like 21, they'd be like, "Menu," and they wouldn't care what I could talk about. Really, they just see this, you know, foreigner, young woman. And even if I wanted to talk about stuff, it would still, you know, you're going up against the wall of 5000年的历史你没法理解, and like you're going up against that. And like I am like a little bit shy. I tend to be actually a little bit shy in person. So I would self-doubt, like, can I really have this debate right now? And on top of that, they're already calling me menu and kind of like patronizing to me in that way. So it was something that I constantly struggled with, was how much do I want to be my actual self? And how much do I just want to let them think it's a menu? That's it.
So basically at 21 or 25 whatever, you feel like in the States people are taking you more seriously, but in China they don't.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that is because the language, though. Like I'll tell you something else though. I don't think that like I don't think people were necessarily condescending to me because I was a girl. I think if I were more articulate, I could have overcome that a lot better. I think it was just like, I don't know. It was an extra challenge. But when I was in China, and I did multiple jobs when I was there, in 3 different interviews for different jobs over the years, I was asked, who am I dating? Now, it wasn't Chinese people who asked me that. It was the freaking foreign white dude working at the company. And these were big companies, you know, like one was like Nielsen, one was, well, I'm not going to name the other one because I worked there. And then there was another one. And the one was a Canadian guy, one was a British guy, and one was an American guy. And at some point in the interview, they'd be like, so are you dating someone? And at first, right, when I was looking for my first job, I was desperate for a job. So I just answered the question and tried not to cause trouble. And they were like, all right, so is he going to move to the city with you, or are you going to be in a long distance? Because they're like, oh, if it's long distance, like she won't be a good worker. And anyway, so I just answered the questions. I got the job and like the dating thing, whatever. But later on, you know, after the Me Too movement, a couple years later, and I was applying for a different job, and I got asked the same thing. And this British guy in Shanghai, he was like, so I have this candidate for the job. She's great. She's really smart, but her husband is in a different city. And so I need to ask you, are you married? Are you dating? And where does he live? And I replied to him, I said, what does that have to do with the job? And of course, he gets defensive and he's like, you know, I just need to screen and make sure my workers are serious. And if I need them to work on the weekends, they're not going to be off with their boyfriend somewhere. And I knew right then I wasn't going to work for him no matter what. But anyway, I talked to him a little bit more about it, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm not seeing anyone, but like, I don't think it would really affect my performance or whatever.
Is this question, I don't know about like interview law or whatever in the States, but is that question even okay in the States?
No, it's totally illegal. In fact,
totally illegal.
And you can't even say things like, oh, are you celebrating Christmas? Because it's construed as asking what their religion is.
So basically these dudes, they should probably know.
Yeah, they should.
But then they go to China and they're like, well, here, I don't give a fuck. Because here it's okay.
It's insane.
Oh, man.
It's clear. Go ahead. I'm
going to tell you something that is not very flattering to myself.
I got plenty of stories too. Go ahead.
When I think these guys is me. And I noticed that when I first moved to China in 2005, I was I was irritated at the spitting. You know, people spit everywhere, like very loudly.
Yeah.
But also I was like, that's kind of awesome because that means I can do it too. And I would just spit everywhere. You know, walk around and be like, you know. And then a Chinese friend, she asked me like, why do you spit? And I was like, I don't know, like it's nice. It feels like it's a relief. And she was like, do you spit in Germany? And I was like, of course I don't spit in Germany. Nobody spits in Germany. And she's like, why do you spit here? And then I got it.
Yeah.
Because I'm an asshole. That's why. Because really, you will see these perfectly nice, like very orderly German dudes with like the German hair and the German shirt, and they're working for fucking Audi or Volkswagen or something.
Yeah,
and then they become these dudes that never stand in line, that always fuck everybody else over, and they're like, well, this is how it is here. I'm a Zhongguo Tong now. Of course, they don't speak Chinese.
Yeah.
But being the old China hand means playing dirty like everybody else.
Yeah, isn't that?
Yeah, that was a moment of disappointment in myself that I have not forgotten. Just standing there and being like, I know the answer to why I spit here, but I don't like it. Yeah.
No one's above it. Like, we all get influenced, and I've certainly done things I'm ashamed of too. Like, in China, I was much rougher to people in public. Like, if they were crowding up on me, I would push them out of the way.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I would never dare to do that.
Oh yeah. Did you enjoy the subway rides when people get in first and then they let you out?
Drove me insane. Like, if there was like 3 things I don't miss about China, it's the xian shang hou xia or whatever, and the fact that people didn't do that, and some other stuff like that, like cutting in line, and you know. Yeah,
one time I when I was walking, you know, like my long distance walking thing. One time I came to a railroad crossing. So there's one lane going that way, the other lane going this way. And in the middle, there's a railroad crossing, and I'm walking. So for me, it's fine either way. Like, I can walk anywhere. I can walk next to the road. It's fine. But like these cars that come from this lane, they don't want to be in line to wait for that railroad. They want to get to the railroad, actually to the crossing, to the front. So they all go on the left lane, which is not their lane. It's the lane that the other cars will come eventually when it's open. Mm-hmm. On the other side, they do the same thing. So then the railroad crossing, it opens, and there's 2 lanes of cars looking at each other, and nobody can go anywhere for a long time because everybody wanted to be in the front. And I was looking at it, and I was like, that's not even, let's say, constructive selfishness. You know, like, there's one ticket, there's a line, I get the ticket, screw everybody else. That's kind of like, at least I got something. But they didn't even get anything. They just made everything worse for everybody, including themselves.
Yeah, it's wild.
And yeah, I don't. Yes.
I think you can tell a lot about a civilization by how the people drive. And I'm not saying people are good drivers here per se, but I definitely learned that in China, like the collective mentality and the lack of trust between people in any place, I think will tell you a lot about what you need to know.
Yeah, definitely. And let's say young people getting massive SUVs because their parents are worried about their safety.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, that's one of those things that people do here as well. It's like,
oh, really?
America has massive SUV. Yeah, people, it's not like Europe. Like people don't drive smart cars or small cars.
Okay. I thought it was like, I don't know, this California Tesla utopia over there.
I think you've been talking to people in California too much.
Well,
the flyover states.
Kansas was a pickup country, but I always imagined like these coastal states to be kind of more advanced in, I don't know, ecologically competence.
Marginally. I mean, America is not a bastion of environmentalism. Maybe if in January, if we elect a liberal Congress, we might pass some environmental laws. But if we don't, like, it's not going to happen.
Did you feel unsafe, like physically unsafe in China ever as a woman? Like people actually harassing you or something?
Rarely, but it did happen.
And how did that compare to the States?
Well, I'm more afraid to walk down the street in the dark at night in the States. And I think a lot of that is fear mongering because it's like I've watched a lot of TV shows about like people getting abducted. And in China, you don't hear about that because they don't talk about it. But like, of course, in China, they have child trafficking, like woman trafficking issues as well. I think that was a white privilege of mine is people didn't really dare to like do things to me because they're like, oh, that would be too mafan to deal with this foreigner. But no, there was one case where this security guard was like, like kind of like chasing me and trying to like get on a date with me and whatever. And he's the security guard, right? Like he's supposed to make us feel safe. He made me feel quite unsafe. So I had to ask a male friend to walk me around at night, which was kind of embarrassing for me. Like I felt kind of shitty about that. But
you're being chaperoned.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to have to be chaperoned, but like that's what this is.
For me, the surprising thing was I think often I'm actually super unaware of what life might be like for a woman because I am not a woman. Like it's very difficult for me to put myself in the shoes of a woman because I don't know if I haven't been trained to look at the world through female eyes, right? Like these things that I think are normal, they might not feel normal to you. For example, in China, I had two German friends, girls. And when we were in a taxi, I would ride in the front with the driver because I didn't like sitting in the front with the driver. And they would be in the back. And then always, almost without exception, the driver would kind of talk to me about them. Like, which one is your girlfriend? Are you married? Are they married? Or do they have partners? And they could hear. And they would be like, why are you talking like these bazaar guys about watermelons? Why are they not just talking to us? And that was one thing. The other thing was that out of my friends that I had in China or have in China, actually at least three of them were physically assaulted women on the streets in the dark. One Italian girl, a guy chased her down to her apartment, broke into the door, and then threatened to rape her and gave her a black eye and stole some stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
That was big. Like this whole Udalco scene, everybody knows everybody, and she shows up with a black eye, and we're like, what happened to you?
That's horrible.
That is horrible. But like, I don't have the corresponding stories from my friends in Germany, and I've spent much more time in Germany. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in Germany, but for me, it just felt weird that I'm so exposed to these things within a time of 3 or 4 years. I didn't spend that much time in China, but like close friends of mine that I actually know, it's not like hearsay. It's not somebody knows someone. It's like a personal friend of mine goes like, I am devastated I was raped, actually raped. And I'm like, this is the first time I hear about this. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to comfort anybody. This has been so far from me. But in China, it's kind of the stereotype is, oh, it's such a safe country. I cannot confirm that. So I don't know like how it felt for you. For me, it was super safe, but I'm a dude.
I mean, it felt safe in general compared to like inner city New York, but like,
Mm,
that's not saying very much. I mean, it was there in China. There's a lot of break-ins and a lot of theft, and when there's a lot of theft, you're going to be vulnerable, especially if you're female, especially if you're like weaker. And so I definitely locked my door a lot because things would get stolen. And if I were home and they got stolen, I would definitely be in a threatened position. That's true anywhere. The thing I felt least safe about in China was definitely the traffic stuff. Crossing the road, it was like every day, am I gonna die crossing the road? The taxi things that you mentioned, that happened too. Like definitely if there was a man in the vehicle, like he would talk to the man about me. Like that was annoying. I don't know if that's necessarily unsafe, but it's on the spectrum.
oh yeah, yeah, it is weird. Like all this attention to you and not even to your face, but like just about you. It just, for me, it never felt weird until my friends brought it up. And then I was like, oh, okay, it is actually weird, because my perspective is like, okay, we're talking about them, but I don't know why that's bad.
Well,
It
so
is bad when you listen to it.
yeah, I'm sure you experienced this. You go out to a restaurant with a Chinese friend, you order something, and the waiter doesn't look at you. They look at the Chinese friend, even though you're the one ordering and talking.
Ah, yeah.
Right? That happens a lot, and that drove me insane. And it was sort of a similar thing. That's not about safety. That's about how you treat people. Where my Chinese friends, they didn't realize that that was bothersome to me, and they kind of thought like, oh, let's be helpful and answer the questions for the waiter. But it drove me insane.
Okay, I get that though. I mean, yeah, this same Turkish friend that I have, that I was just talking about, he spent some time in Holland,
Uh-huh.
and he said he hated it because he actually went through the effort of learning Dutch.
Yeah.
And then he would go to the market because he likes markets, and he would buy stuff and he would be like in Dutch. I don't speak Dutch. I don't know. He would be like blah, blah, blah in Dutch. And they would just reply to him in perfect English because they assume he can't speak Dutch or whatever. And he was like, that was so mean to him because for him it was important. He wanted to be in this thing and like speak Dutch. But for them, they just kind of pushed him out again. And I thought, well, maybe they were actually trying to be really nice.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
make it easier for him. But like from his perspective, it really sucked.
Yeah.
But I could also imagine myself, like, I don't know, if there was some foreigner and trying to speak German, and I could hear that it's not really like standard high German, and I just reply in English to make it easier, because I'm thinking like, what you want is not a conversation. What you want is cheese. So let's talk about cheese now. But
Yeah.
for him, could be horrible. And I think maybe this restaurant situation is the same. For me, it was a bit different because if I go to a restaurant with a Chinese girl, then there are two things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
One is I'm a dude, so they should talk to me and I should pay. But the other thing is there's this Chinese person, so they should talk to her and she should pay. So it's like this huge confusion where they're like looking here, looking there. And this concept of maybe women paying seems a bit off generally in Asia.
Yeah, so actually I want to ask you about that. If I were a white man in Asia, I would be frustrated that people are judging me.
Ooh, interesting. Tell me why.
Well, because I mean, frankly, I have a lot of white male friends in Asia with Chinese wives, and it's frustrating that their wives, like, they have great marriages, people they truly love, and it's not about money, it's not about a green card because they're living in China, and nevertheless, when they go out, she's being judged because they're like, you're a hanjian, you just want a green card, you just want money, and he's being judged because they're like, you're an imperialist. Like, did you ever feel yourself being judged when you were around Chinese females?
Yeah. I had this experience one time. I had a Chinese friend from Paris who had been living with her grandparents in Paris, and so she was French more than Chinese, but she looked Chinese. So we're in my apartment, we go outside, and she says, before we go, she says, look at how the people look at us. Usually they look at you, but now they will look at you for 1 second and then look at me.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, why would they do that? And she was like, just observe. So we go outside and it happens. And she's like, do you know what they're thinking? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And she's like, they're thinking you got the money and you're like this, not even so much money, but like, yeah, maybe this girl wants to go abroad, or she wants this exotic white guy, or who is physically different, whatever. And they don't know, this girl worked in a bank and I was a foreign exchange student. She had the money. She's like this serious person. I'm just an idiot, and I'm just happy that she spends time with me. But to them, it looks like, yeah, I'm this foreign guy, and I got this country bumpkin Chinese girl who goes like, oh God, I'm finally talking to a foreigner. Well, she is from Paris.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, these things were very irritating. And often it felt like it's a way where Chinese men, they claim Chinese women as their property.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, I come and I take your property. But then if you're a Chinese dude and you come to Germany and you want to bang everybody, do that. Like, if you succeed, fine. Like, I'm not going to say these are mine.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't be sad at all. I would be like, Chinese dude bangs everybody. That's nice for him. But in China, it didn't work that way.
Well, that's what that education will do for you, when the education tells you that you're, being imperialized and whatever.
I don't know. I mean, there could be many things at play at the same time. I think some of it is also, we white dudes, we tend to exoticize Asian women, not just Chinese, but just Asian. That's like this thing where we go like, ooh, I got the yellow fever. Mm-hmm. And then my female Western friends in Beijing, they were saying like, I'm an attractive white woman in Germany. And now I come here and I'm not an attractive white woman anymore, because the Chinese dudes are kind of intimidated by me, because not so much like physically, but like because of my demeanor. I'm not going to be this timid girl. I'm going to be me. And the white dudes, they don't look at me because they're really busy exoticizing these Asian women.
Yeah.
So what's left for me?
Yeah, that's for real. That's real.
That's for real. And that sounded so horrible, because for me, it was fun. Like, I mean, I go to a different place. I could never relate to this yellow fever, because for me, it was always like, if a woman is attractive, she's attractive. And yeah, whatever the color. But yeah, it was always fun. And I was never very sensitive to these issues. Yeah. Like unless people bring it up, and then I notice, like when this girl from Paris, when she told me, after that, I was like, oh man, like people are actually judging us with their looks all the time. But before that, I was oblivious. I'm just walking around and being like, this is awesome,
Ignorance is bliss. Where were you in those times?
In which times?
Like your couple years there, were you in Kunming or something? Beijing?
Oh no, I was in Beijing all the time.
Wudaoko.
Basically, yeah, I was near Zhichunlu. Right. I had a small apartment, yeah. And suddenly, I gotta say, I was more attractive than at home.
Yeah,
that was a thing. Like in Germany, I have to, if I want to get to know a woman, I have to crack jokes, and I have to make her think like this conversation is kind of interesting. But in China, there was always this feeling of, people are interested in you just because you're this weird alien that dropped in from outer space. And they're like, what is your opinion on something? And I'm like, well, this is my opinion, but it doesn't have to be interesting or smart or funny. And that already opened so many doors. So I felt like it's good. I'm obviously more attractive than I thought.
Yeah.
Before. So that was fun. Yeah, but this sort of, the aggression, where sometimes Chinese dudes, what they would do, they would ask me like, so like, we're drinking or whatever. And they'd be like, so like, do you screw around a lot? You screw a lot of Chinese women? And it's kind of this dudishness, this bro-ishness, where I'm going to be like, yeah, I screw everybody. I never, I would always be like, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I literally don't do that, because I don't want to fall into that trap where then they get angry.
Yeah.
because I know it's not an innocent question. It's not a bro question. It's about like, are you eating from my plate?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's your plate. It's fine. But yeah, it just felt odd. This whole thing.
Yeah, it is odd and it's uncomfortable. And your female German friends, like, they're basically right. What I experienced though, which is a little different, was that when I was there, especially again when I was like 21, I know I was attractive because people would come up and talk to me, but no one would dare ask me on a date. No one would dare, talk to me as if like I'm an equal. You know what I mean? Like they would just main you from across the street and then run away. Like that happened a lot. Less and less as I got older, but it happened.
Yeah, I found that tragic, I gotta say. I found that really tragic. I think the flirt culture works in a way that if you're this kind of a cold white dude who has been brought up in this environment where you're supposed to be funny and interesting and also kind of a little bit aloof, you're not gonna go like, hey, I met you yesterday and I'm gonna call you all day today.
Yeah,
no. And you're not gonna be like, it's raining today, take your umbrella. No, you're just gonna be kind of cool and hands off and be like, yeah, I don't care. Maybe you do care, but you're not gonna show it. That works with the Chinese women, but the other way around, it doesn't work. If you're a Chinese dude and you're trying the 他对我很好,
yeah,
this kind of Chinese being nice, being understanding, reminding her to take the umbrella.
Oppressive.
I'm sorry?
It feels oppressive.
Yeah, it feels suffocating. It feels I mean, I could tell from my friends, like they're interested in some Chinese guy, and then they're like, yeah, I can't work with this, like it's too much, not even if we were married I would be able to stand this, and this has been just a second date, can't do it. Yeah, and it felt like maybe for Chinese people, they're thinking often in terms of like an economical inequality, which honestly isn't really there anymore. Like if you want to get a rich dude in China, you're not going to get some foreigner. You're going to get a guy who parks a Ferrari at some mixed, yeah, or like Gongqi,
yeah.
Right? And he's going to know how to spend the money on you. A Western guy, even if he has the money, he doesn't know how to spend it on you. He's going to be like, yeah, I have it, but like I'm not going to get you an apartment. So that doesn't really, I don't think that accounts for much. And then who needs a green card?
Yeah.
I mean, village.
Well, plenty of people still do.
Yeah, if you go to the village, right. But like in Beijing and Shanghai, like you're not going to impress anyone and be like, listen, I'm from America.
Yeah.
I'm from Germany. Be like, oh yeah, please take me. No, those times are over. So then I think it comes down to like this physical thing where they're like, yeah, well, Chinese people are a little bit smaller, kind of physically, like the dudes they're not really like that imposing. The body language isn't that strong. They're not that confident. And then it just feels shitty that you got these kind of hormone, testosterone white dudes coming in and being like all super confident because suddenly they're attractive. And you're like, that isn't fair. Because the other way around, it doesn't work. Even though I am also attractive, but it doesn't work on these white women who kind of want to talk to you in a serious way, don't like do the timid thing. Mm-hmm. The mime thing, and don't even want you to pay for them. So what do you do with them?
Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. I had this experience with this guy from my school, kind of fat, but like nice fat. There's like this fat that's bad, and then there's a fat where you think like, well, this guy should be fat. It just looks good that way. Yeah. So this guy is super confident, 老北京, like everything he says is this R sound. Rah, rah, rah.
Love it.
And I had this German friend, this girl who liked him kind of. So I was like, let's go to a bar. So we go to a bar. And before that, I'm like, just be yourself. Drink your beer. Don't be too nice. Give her some space. And like, she likes you. And she just got to this country. So it's kind of nice to know this old Beijing guy, if only to hang out. Yeah. And then I see them hang out at the bar, and he's like, with his beer. And he's like, and it, like, I'm like, dude, this is going really well. I can see from his face, he's being really cool. And she's like, ooh, old Beijing guy. And I go dancing. Oh God, my cats. Fucking whatever. So I'm like dancing, and then while I'm dancing, this girl comes up to me and she's like, let's go. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, let's go. I can't be here anymore. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, he follows me everywhere. I go to the restroom and he follows me. He stands outside the restroom because he's being a gentleman, but I don't like it.
Yeah. What a
And
good
yeah.
start. Yeah.
And I didn't know what to say at that point because really, like, what do you do with that? I'm not a dating coach.
Yeah.
But
That
yeah,
culture divide is too big in that case.
I don't. Maybe it could come with, like, let's say, I mean, China is getting westernized in its own way, and I feel like these young generations, they have a lot less of this 崇洋媚外, where they go like, "Ooh, you're a foreigner. That's kind of interesting and cool." No, they've seen so many. My best friend in China, when he got his kid, when the little child was 2 years old, he put him on a skateboard. This little guy, he's 10 now. He's a really good skateboarder. Like, he doesn't need me to show him like the cool things from whatever Germany or whatever. You know, he's a pretty cool guy, I guess. So when he's 20, maybe there will be more of like, he's just kind of comfortable in his own skin, and maybe this dating weird culture of introducing people, kind of being super overly nice, and then but having an R&I once you're in a relationship is going to slowly vanish. I hope. I don't know.
Hopefully.
I mean, it could be nice if Chinese women also pay sometimes, not for me, but for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're like, you know, I respect the fact that you got money. Yeah. So
the tradition, I don't think is going to go away very fast. I know that China's changing, but like gender roles is something that in any society is one of the hardest things to change.
True, but like in the case of Germany, we had laws that women were not allowed to have an own bank account until the 1960s.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
No divorce without the husband's consent until that time as well.
Wow.
No, what is that called? Rape in marriage until the 80s. So like, you know, you agreed one time, so whatever happens after that, you're screwed. And we had homosexual sexuality illegal until 1994.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Germany for you. And now we got gay marriage and we're like so open, but it's not us really. It's just progress. But traditionally, no. The woman should be at home and have consensual or non-consensual heterosexual sex with a partner. And the partner is just going to be a dick.
Well, on the other hand, you have Japan, which did industrialize, modernize quickly, and yet only 4% of their Congress is female.
Also true. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's easier for an island nation to sort of you know, without the influx of others, to sort of keep these kind of sick things around. I don't know. I've never been to Japan. I don't have many opinions on Japan, except for they have a lot of porn. But I don't know much else.
I feel like, I was thinking recently, I feel like our world is becoming more and more like Japan because of the digitization. Like the fact that I feel like I'm living on my computer makes me, I feel like understand the like otaku, you know, like Jainan culture that came out of Japan. I'm like, am I a Jainan now?
Oh, 宅女, huh?
Yeah, Jainu.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about these things. Like whatever I see from Japan on the news or whatever, I cannot relate. Have you been there?
I've been there. I don't know much about it either. I'm not gonna pretend I do.
But it always feels fascinating that there is this country that, from the Chinese standpoint, seems to be westernized because they have this democracy, but at the same time, from the outside, it looks like they're being more traditional than China.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That is so interesting. China is being westernized in very twisted ways. But yeah, places like Korea, Japan, even Taiwan keep more of their traditional culture while being officially lapdogs of the West. Yeah, odd.
Aren't traumatized by the Cultural Revolution. Like, you know, like China systematically destroyed their traditions over decades. So when capitalism did arrive in the 1980s, it's like, all right, just give us the new stuff. Let's forget about this old stuff.
Shit. Did you also have this experience that basically once you get close to a Chinese person, you will eventually hear about trauma?
Yeah. But do you think that that was special to China?
Yeah.
It seems true in general, right?
No.
What did you experience?
I think Germans are very sheltered now. Like obviously the generation of my grandparents, they were literally in the Second World War as the bad guys. So yeah, for them, trauma. But after that, the generation of my dad or whatever, there's nothing there. Nothing. Like all the trauma that you have is individual because somebody is a dick.
Yeah.
It's not like the system is dicking you around. These people are totally like me. You know, I go to some weird dictatorship and I'm oblivious to the dangers because I have never learned about them. But in China, there's these things, for example, one of my best friend's moms is super, super loud, obnoxiously loud. She is so loud when you talk to her, she will just scream and make jokes all the time. And her husband will sit there and be really small. And the whole table will be dominated by this monster of a woman. Like she seems like this, have you seen Ariel, the mermaid? This mean underground jellyfish woman.
Yeah.
Or like a kraken. She's just super huge and super loud, and you're like, God, just a little bit less of energy would be good.
Yeah.
And then we sit there at the table, and we talk about stuff, and then suddenly the conversation goes to the Cultural Revolution, and she says when she was 6, she saw these people carry the corpses through the street of people they had just killed, and this was normal. And while she was saying that, she became very, very, very small. Like her voice was very small and it started cracking. And this whole huge thing that she had built up, it was gone. And it was just this tiny, very hurt person. And really, like, it was a moment to just choke. You sit there and you're like, God, I want this big thing back. I don't want to look at this anymore, because you can feel the hurt so strongly. And then you understand, while she is this underwater super big kraken that just like never lets anybody talk over her, her whole like existence is just dominating. Nobody's ever going to carry a corpse in front of her anymore.
Well,
yeah.
That's a great story, by the way. Thanks for sharing that. And you wonder if she is that personality in part because of the trauma.
That's what I thought. I thought this is kind of compensating and making sure that every place where she is going to dominate the place. Nothing is going to happen to her anymore. She's never going to be this little 6-year-old that is just looking at things. No, she's going to just scream over everybody. And then it was fine. I was like, yeah, scream. If it makes you happy, just scream. But the trauma in everybody, like literally, there's no exception. You talk to them for a little bit, and then at some time there will be like, yeah, they killed my grandpa. And I'm like, that's normal for my grandparents' generation because of the war.
Yeah.
But that's not normal in peace times.
Yeah.
Or like whatever, who got disappeared.
Yeah.
Not even in the Cultural Revolution, but after somebody got disappeared, or somebody has a sister who is actually not her sister, but like she's biologically his sister, but she's officially the cousin, because somebody else in the family is raising her because they couldn't have 2 children.
Yeah.
And then you look at this shit and you're like, how do you even like deal with it?
I met someone who had been trafficked. He was like, yeah, I'm from North Korea. I was trafficked as a kid. Here I am now. And I was like, what?
Yeah. And like, why does everybody talk about these things in a matter of fact way? You know, like, oh yeah, you know, my grandpa got killed. Oh yeah, that's how it is. Or like, this guy from my family, he committed suicide. I don't know, they drove him to suicide. Or like, I was writing this book once, and I went with a tour group of Chinese people to Europe. So we travel around, and there's this girl, and she's super happy all the time. And I hated it, because I write books. I want something. Like, I can't just write about you as this happy little fluffy ball of fun. Yeah. So I like activating to find her and just hang out and see if there's anything. And I was prepared of not finding anything, because I thought, this person just doesn't have anything. It's just happy. And it's going to be terrible for my book, because nobody's going to believe it. But we went to an Ai Weiwei exhibition where he had dismantled a temple that they were going to destroy. And he had just put the wood things of the temple in an exhibition hall. And it was modern art, Ai Weiwei. And she was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, I don't know, it's modern art. Like, let's just check it out, it's fine. And she's like, I don't get modern art. Like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't get it either. What the fuck? But like, I mean, let's at least like look at it. So we go into that temple thing, and then she's like, do you smell that? And I was like, yeah, smell what? And she's like, the wood. And I was like, a little bit. And she's like, that smells like my home. And again, I hear her voice cracking, and she's like, they took my home. She used to live in a hutong, in a Siheyuer in Beijing. And then the government wanted the building. So first they got them the shitty building somewhere in the Jiaoqu, in the suburbs, like the shitty apartment. They went there, but the grandparents didn't. And then they got one of her uncles, put him in jail, told the grandparents to go there to pick him up. And when they went, they raised the building with everything. And that was just because of that smell. And suddenly, much to my pleasure, she wasn't happy anymore. But yeah, these things, they shouldn't be like that. There should be just happy people, or like sheltered people that maybe everybody has some idiot in their family. Fine. Personal trauma, but not systemic trauma.
So, I mean, China, the system itself creates trauma. Like, I expect people to be traumatized for years to come.
Yeah. And this was the thing that slowly, for me, eroded this that I had with China. Because for me, it's still awesome. I could just be a happy foreigner.
Yeah.
Love the food, love the attention. I can make a lot of money. But I don't feel comfortable with all this trauma around me, and thinking it keeps going on. And yeah, for me, it has been a very like a creepy experience to slowly like under the huge headlines of how bad China is, to find a reality that is kind of equally bad but more nuanced. But you don't just look at a headline and you're like, ooh, they're organ harvesting, or like they have concentration camps. Yes, but also there's all this personal trauma with your friends, with people that you care about.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I can imagine a million people being in a camp, and I don't give a fuck because I don't know them. They're very far. People die in Yemen. I can totally make myself immune to all the shit that goes on in the world, and I'm fine. But once it's all around you and all these details, and everybody smiles at you, and they're like, well, yeah, but it's normal, then it gets really creepy. Then it gets really fucked up. And yeah, I'm really happy that these last few years I wasn't there. You left in 2018?
Yeah.
How was the Winnification of China?
So what?
The Winnification, when Winnie the Pooh took over.
You knew what was going on. Like, it, I mean, at least as a foreigner there, like, you could see the change. And there were, the way that the change expressed itself to us was that we saw fewer and fewer foreigners coming, and fewer quality foreigners. Like, people who were there because they loved China just started leaving.
Oh God.
Like, you could just sense it. And then in terms of like physical stuff, there was more and more walls. I know it's really simple, but like there were these you know, those white like fences they put up in the middle of the road. All of a sudden in 2017, those were everywhere. You couldn't cross the road. They had those everywhere, and they had the cameras everywhere. And it was like, this isn't a mystery about what's happening. And you know, when I first went there in 2008, even 2010, 11, and 12, like pretty much right up until she took took his position, the popular line was 中国越来越好, like things are, you know, they're not perfect, but we can look forward to the future. And at that time I was skeptical because I was like, it's a one-party system, no one's pushing for constitutional law, so like I don't see how it's getting better, but okay. And then when he came on in 2013, it's like, things aren't getting better, guys. Like, materially you're getting richer, but like, you know, have fun with this, because this is not, like, I'm out pretty much.
Do you regret studying Chinese?
No, definitely not. That was one of the best things I ever did.
You have still not answered why Chinese, though. You said, okay, you're good at languages. If you're good at languages, you could have done Russian. I'm doing Russian. It's very difficult. Why Chinese? Why not, I don't know, Hindi? Arabic.
I've thought about those.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I have always been drawn to Asia, even as a kid, and I would love to be able to explain it. I can't really. I think maybe it was me exoticizing it at a younger age. But there was something about anime. There was something about Chinese characters. There was something that just seemed so foreign, and yet so rich that I was like, that would be pretty cool to know that.
Yeah.
As a kid, I don't have that exposure to Arabic or Hindi. You know, you get it from Japanese and Chinese. 2008, China was like the next biggest and greatest thing or whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll do that.
Yeah, I get that. It still warms me that this culture is so rich. Even they have all these terrible experiences with the Cultural Revolution and everything, but it's still kind of there. You go to a hairdresser, these Holongua guys, the dragon fruit hair,
Yeah.
and they're total idiots without any education. But then he's going to talk to you, and there's going to be this little chengyu, this little saying that is 2,000 years old, and it's just there. And it's not because he's educated; it's because it's in the culture.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful.
These things to me were beautiful. Yeah, these things were nice. But recently, I have been kind of looking at my life, and I've been thinking, why didn't I just study Japanese, or somebody who doesn't have concentration camps? I mean, it would be kind of cool to just be like, yeah, you know, I got to go to Japan again, but it's fine. Right now, I don't even go to China because I don't feel safe there. But even if I did feel safe there, it would still be this thing where you go to, I don't know, I don't want to do the Nazi comparison all the time, but if you studied German in 1932 and you're like, I see where this is going, I don't know how you feel. Or maybe I do know, because I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
What a bad moment, huh?
Horrible. I think that for me, the question isn't why I started. It's more like, why did I stay and then live there for 8 years, even though I knew I didn't like the government and whatever. And I think that there is something to be said for struggle, not too much, but enough. And like in the US, like I wasn't struggling here. It's like my native culture. And like Japan, I suppose I would have struggled there, but China is on every level. There's some form of struggle that's very engaging and just like interesting. It's really hard to describe.
No, I get that. I like the dynamics. I like how people are very brave in doing new stupid businesses and failing, and then doing other stupid businesses. That's like the furthest from a German you can be.
Perfectionist.
Yeah, Germans, and being very cautious. We like to sort of have an insurance for our insurance and be like, well, this insurance is insured, so that's good. Chinese, no. They're just going to kind of trailblaze and be like, let's buy 1 million bicycles and put them there before someone else buys 1 million bicycles, and then you're going to have mountains of bicycles, and everybody looks at you like, oh, interesting. That doesn't really happen in Germany, because they're going to be like, well, what's going to happen? Let's first talk about insurance. And I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, with these last, let's say, 6 years, at the beginning, I don't know how fast did you notice that something was off with Xi Jinping? I didn't notice. I was very optimistic for the first half year.
I was never optimistic because his first act, do you remember the first thing he did?
No.
His anti-corruption campaign?
Okay, well, I remember the first thing that he did was he gave a speech. And in that speech, he was wearing a suit as opposed to this Zhongshan And he said, ladies and gentlemen. And he didn't say 同志们. And I was like, yes, go, dude. Like, because I still had that specter of Bo Xilai. And I was like, good that it's not Bo Xilai. Good that it's this guy. And now I could just hit myself over the head, because this guy might actually be worse than Bo Xilai, because Bo Xilai probably was singing red songs just for the look of it.
Yeah.
But this guy is actually singing red songs.
He's singing his own song. Like he's
He's a dictator. Like, not even red songs. Yeah, you're so right.
I mean, Marxists at Beida, like there's this Marxist group that's famous for like always getting imprisoned these days because they like protest on behalf of workers' rights.
Yeah, how dare they?
Yeah, how dare they? How dare they?
How dare they?
No, I knew something was up with him because when he came on board in 2013, his first act was to do like this anti-corruption campaign, which anytime a politician's like, we need to crack down on corruption, and then they fire a bunch of people, you know that that's not what they're about. Like, if you cared about corruption, you wouldn't fire people, you would change the system. It's like insulting to be like, oh, I'm just going to fire the corrupt people.
Yeah.
And then not change the fact that there's no checks and balances, not try to improve the courts. It was like so obvious, just a power grab. And then he took pictures of himself, or the media took pictures of him wearing a construction worker's hat, eating fangbian mian with the workers out on the street. And they're like, oh, he's a man of the people. It's like how could people fall for this? Like, this is obviously, a dictator's move.
When he was eating baozi and everything.
Yeah, man of the
Terrible. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, do you think Chinese people are naive? I think that sometimes.
I mean,
it feels mean to think that, but I think when Chinese people talk about fanfu, this anti-corruption, I feel like a corrupt system has one and only one characteristic that it must have. Everybody must be corrupted, because if there's an incorruptible person, that person is a danger to everybody else.
Yeah, you can't be a good player in a bad system.
It doesn't work. They will make sure you either get corrupted or you die, because you cannot be a person without a handle. As long as everybody has a handle, like these Chinese business dinners where you get drunk and then you go to a whorehouse together. If one of them doesn't do the whoring thing, that guy has a problem.
Yeah.
We need to be all in the same shit.
I think that most Chinese people know that, though. Like for instance, the reason a lot of Chinese people online are being like the US election is rigged and whatever is because they're used to growing up in an autocracy. When you grow up in an autocracy, you assume that every politician is an autocrat in disguise. You assume that if something doesn't go the way you like, it must be corruption. There's no way the system works. In America, like most of us, 80% of the people in America believe that like the system works, and only 20%, who's a very loud 20%, are screaming like corruption, autocracy, the Clintons, whatever the heck, And I think that is a form of naivety that people who don't grow up in democracy have. At the same time, just to be fair, like we are pretty naive about stuff too. Like, for instance, a lot of Americans, when I start to tell them about like years ago, I'd talk about the organ harvesting, they'd be like, that's not real. I tell them about digoyo, like the sewer oil, and they'd be like, no one would do that. That's not real.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we've been talking for a long time, and I thank you. I feel like Westerners who are from the non-traumatized generations, which in America is a lot of generations depending on your social status and your group, I guess. But in Germany is basically 2 or 3 generations. We are unable to detect authoritarianism because we think in terms of 1984. I hate 1984. I think it's a very stupid book because maybe it was good in 1948, but now it kind of paints this picture of a society that's totally gray. Everybody's oppressed, and you always got these cameras looking at you, and they're unfriendly, and everybody hates it, but everybody's afraid of it. And so that's a dictatorship. But really, have you read Huxley?
Yeah,
Brave New World.
Brave New World. I haven't read that one in 15 years. I don't remember it well.
But I just reread it, and that's it.
How's it different?
The dictatorship has lipstick on. It looks nice. Yeah. It's like everybody is kind of happy with it. It's not like 1984, everybody's afraid. No. In which modern dictatorship is everybody unhappy? Even in Iran, you can have fun. You can do coke in Iran. You can get wasted in Iran. You can have orgies in Iran. If you know the right people. I've been to a party where the cops show up outside. We're all drunk, and they leave because we're in a compound and we're rich.
Yeah.
What are we unhappy about? Nothing.
Yeah.
We're like, we can have this party here or in London. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, dictatorships with makeup, where you feel like I can pay with my WeChat,
Mhm.
and like service is A, and the Gautier, they're on time,
Yeah,
not like in Germany. And like, where is the oppression here? I don't feel it. The
right.
oppression is still there, but it's like covered in this makeup. And for like these naive German dudes, it's kind of like, well, in Germany I have to pay taxes. That's oppressive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then they go there and they're like, here I can spit on the floor, like me.
Yeah.
So it's actually better. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it's tough. It's really tough to communicate stuff. I was just talking to a friend about Huawei, and he said they have not found backdoors in Huawei. To
Who's
which
that?
I said, Huawei doesn't need backdoors.
Yeah.
Huawei, just like any other company in China, has signed an oath, and they have a CCP cell in them.
Yeah.
And the highest directive is they need to do everything that Winnie wants. So what would they need the backdoor to? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
What's the mystery here?
There is no mystery. But it's really difficult to communicate because you're saying like, so they're different from Apple? You know? Yeah.
Well, they are. I mean, we don't need to get into like Apple versus Huawei, but like when you are a company that is built in a democratic society with strong legal structures, there's going to be a little more protection than if you come out of an autocracy. There just is.
Yeah, but like for German dudes, it's kind of like uh, Samsung is pretty good, Apple is pretty good, Huawei is also pretty good, and Huawei has no backdoor. So what is everybody being angry about? That's kind of the discourse, and it's understandable,
Yeah.
but it's also very naive. So yeah, I think if I may say something positive about Donald Trump,
Mhm.
I think he gave us a lot of entertainment, and also I think he showed that the American system can kind of like can absorb a very strange politician. And
Yeah.
that's actually, if you manage to go through the transition in a good way, really hats off.
Yeah.
Like, not bad. Like, I'm gonna stand there and be like, you did well. Like, you're really like taking this shit for 4 years and then going back to kind of normal. Not bad. But the one thing that I think he really did well was he alerted the world to this China shit, because before that, like Germany, we don't really care.
Yeah.
We would sell our mothers to China because, free trade, whatever. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it pains me to say it. I think, if my understanding is right, it was a lot Steve Bannon because because Trump was fine with China until 2017. Sort of later in it, there were some internal discussions going on between Commerce Department and the Trump administration. It's like, what do we do about China? They're our biggest trading partner, but XYZ. And it was quite a big fight. And in the end, Trump went with the Steve Bannon crowd. Steve Bannon later left or got fired, who knows? But it was his crowd that was really pushing the hey, you got to go against China. And Trump just did what they said instead of the traditional advisors. So yeah, hats off to them for that.
Maybe he has his place in history for that.
Yeah, there's a PBS documentary about it. If you're interested, it's like, how did we get into the trade war? And like, that's kind of what they said. So I don't really know, but that's what I saw.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Xiaolei, thank you.
Thank you, Xiaolei.
Thank you for making videos. It made me feel less alone, really. I sent you this this kind of corny message that it's nice to have you out there, but it's true. I really feel that. I think there's many things to disagree about, and it's awesome. I like it. I really like having these conversations where you go like, no, yes, no. I like that. But it's just nice to think that, for example, Lula, that there's this guy who has his basic values and they're okay. And then you disagree on he wants private education. I don't.
Mhm.
Fine. But like basically there's this set of values, and then you look at the world and you're like, let's be humanists. And that's awesome, because like the Chinese here has been really, really horrible. Yeah. And so I would be happy if you made more videos, and if I could tell people to go there to this American Xiaolei, would be nice. But if it's too much stress, yeah, don't worry. I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, it's nice to know that you're there.
Thanks, Xiaolei. Well, maybe we could do something together again. It's easier.
Yeah. All right. It's like 11 or something there.
Yeah, middle of the day. So
I hope you got pancakes. I really do miss American pancakes with like maple syrup and stuff.
yeah,
You do
it's
that?
good stuff.
Is that something you do?
With my nieces and nephews, not for myself.
Okay, okay. Well, anyway, like if you get the chance, have one and think of Xiaolei. I'm not getting any pancakes here in Georgia, but I get Russian blin, and they're also very good.
Yeah, I'd rather have
All
that.
right. Thank you.